Geometry. Geometry is the part of mathematics that deals with solids, surfaces, lines, angles, and space. We will be dealing with two-dimensional shapes this school year in 5th grade. This video clip will help us to identify all the characteristics that make up the shapes that we will be working with. Before we talk about the attributes of the shapes, let's talk about some of the definitions we need to know in order to understand these attributes. A polygon is a closed figure made up of the line segments that do not cross each other. They do not have curves. Congruent sides are equal in length. Congruent angles have the same degree of measure. Congruent means same size, same shape. Attribute is a characteristic of a figure. Now let's talk about the characteristics of two-dimensional shapes. The first we have here are triangles. Triangles have 3 sides, 3 angles. All of the angles of a triangle add up to 180 degrees. There are several types of triangles. There is a right triangle, which has one angle that is a right angle. An equilateral triangle, which all sides are equal in length, or we can call it an acute triangle because all of the angles are exactly the same size and they're all acute. Well, that's not true. They could be different sizes, but all of the angles have to be acute. We have an isosceles triangle. Isosceles triangles have 2 sides that are exactly equal in length. They are congruent. Usually isosceles triangles have all acute angles. I believe they all do. And a scalene triangle, none of the sides are equal. They are all a different length. Obtuse angle, or an obtuse triangle, is one in which one angle is obtuse and the other 2 are acute. So this is what we know about triangles. Quadrilaterals are 4-shaped or 4-sided shapes. They have 4 sides, 4 angles. All of the angles of a quadrilateral add up to 360 degrees. The types of quadrilaterals are squares, rhombuses, rectangles, parallelograms, and trapezoids. A square is a square has 4 congruent sides, 4 congruent angles, and all angles are 90 degrees. A rectangle can also be called a rhombus. A square can also be called a rectangle, a rhombus, a parallelogram, and a quadrilateral. A rectangle has 4 sides. Opposite sides are congruent. That means this side here is congruent to this side, and this side and its opposite side are congruent. 4 congruent angles. All the angles are 90 degrees. A rectangle can also be called a parallelogram or a quadrilateral. A rhombus has 4 congruent sides and 4 angles. The opposite angles are congruent. A rhombus can also be called a parallelogram. Trapezoid has 4 sides and 4 angles, and 2 of the sides are parallel. So remember, parallel means 2 sides run side by side and they never ever cross. We think of parallel lines like railroad tracks. A parallelogram has 4 sides, 4 angles. Opposite sides are parallel. Opposite sides are parallel. This is parallel to this. Opposite sides and opposite angles are congruent. Same size, same shape. A pentagon has 5 sides and 5 angles. Hexagon has 6 sides, 6 angles. I always try to remember hexagon has an X in it just like the number 6 has an X in it, and that'll help you remember hexagon having 6 sides and 6 angles. Septagon has 7 sides and 7 angles. and an octagon has 8 sides and 8 angles. These are the characteristics of two-dimensional shapes.